Park Bench Communities, Tim Swift, LePage Infinity, Swiftsells Toronto. Here today, we are talking with David Carter, a great lawyer in Midtown, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his business and how he's functioning during these times. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Tim. Happy to be here today and talking to everybody.
I'm glad we could find some time. It was one of those like, okay, how are we going to do this?
Yeah, well, I know with the pandemic, you'd think that everybody would have more time, but at least in real estate, it seems to have just gotten crazier and crazier and crazier.
So tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah, thank you. So we're a real estate firm. I'm one of the two partners. We're what we call a boutique real estate firm in Midtown Toronto. So we're located at Yonge and Eglinton. We're a total of 4 lawyers and a team of 11 staff, basically just dedicated to closing residential real estate deals. We do a small amount of commercial, but mostly residential deals for clients, a lot of them in the Midtown area. And we can help close their purchases, sales, refinance transactions, title changes, ownership agreements, basically anything related to real estate, we're here to help.
So what's your company called?
Grechi-Carter Professional Corporation.
So how long have you been a lawyer, and how did you get specialized in real estate?
Yeah, so we're 9 years. We've been around for 9 years now through Grechi-Carter. We've been in Midtown for about 6 years now at our current location at Yonge and Eglinton. And how did we start in real estate? Well, I've got family members who were in real estate. My father was a real estate lawyer. My partners had some family members in real estate. So we'd actually met in law school and were good friends. Me and my partner, that's the Grechi part of Grechi-Carter. And we had chatted about what we wanted, where we wanted to practice, what firms. We both started at big firms in Toronto. Downtown Bay Street, big firms. And we liked that. It was, there's some wonderful aspects to that. But we really, our goal from the get-go was to go out and sort of forge our own way, do our own thing, get our own clients and help people. And, the big firms, they charge so much that you can't actually deal with regular people. Your clients are all big corporations and whatnot. So this has been a wonderful way for us to practice and deal with people, which was always a priority for us. And I've been doing a fair amount of academic stuff in real estate for about 8 years now, teaching at Osgood's Law School and University of Toronto's Law School for their law programs, doing numerous seminars and conferences. So I've, taken a very sort of an academic as well as practice side of things, because I, as geeky as it might sound, I do love the real estate law. It's very interesting. We see new stuff every day. People think, oh, I'm buying a house. It's, closing day comes, I just have the money and it's all easy peasy. And that's 95% of cases. And you'll know, I see you nodding along there, Tim, you see this. 95% of deals are relatively smooth and, it's straightforward. There's no big problems, but you constantly see new things. Maybe it's a dispute with neighbors comes up before closing, or there's a boundary concern, or, we had a deal recently where the sellers had left the property a month and a half before closing in the winter and forgot to pay their power bills, or had shut off the power and the pipes had frozen. And we found out a couple of days before closing. There's constantly stuff that we see and that we get to analyze and problem solve, which is really, that's where we sort of take our pride, is being able to solve problems and help people when issues arise.
That's how I find it too. I tell people there's always going to be a bump. My job is to make the bumps as smooth as possible, but there's always going to be something. Like the client we were just talking about before this, it's like, where did that bump come from, and how do we make sure we don't go to the bump? And you'll have seen this too. I mean, we've seen most bumps,
in the roads we've seen before, and we know how high the car is going to go off it and how to make sure we land it smoothly after we fly off of it, if that's the way it's going to go. But every once in a while, the bump will be slightly new. It'll have a different angle to it, or, something will be slightly different. And so it's important to have, professionals who have seen these things before and know how to handle them, but are also, understand the way these things work when new stuff happens, and how to help resolve it.
Right. Now, most people know that a realtor and a real estate lawyer need to be involved in most sales in Ontario. Mm-hmm. Can you tell people what the lawyer's purpose is in this versus working through, say, in the States, they use title companies, for instance?
Yeah. So really in Canada, throughout Canada, and certainly in Ontario, lawyers are kind of like a gatekeeper for closings. So the way our title and land registration system works is there is a government database of every piece of land in Ontario. And it records who owns each piece of land, who the current owner is, and what other interest might affect that land. So if there's a mortgage, it's registered on the government database, and an easement or a right-of-way might be. All sorts of interests that might affect the real estate will be registered there. And on closing, what happens is we don't really do a formal deed anymore. That's our old system of land ownership in Britain and Canada. You'd have a handwritten deed, and it would be a physical copy, and you might have a copy of that after closing. Now, the lawyers, what they do on closing is they go in, and the lawyer for the buyer and the seller certify to the government that there's a change of title happening, and we actually change the ownership and register the new buyer on title as the new owner, the government system. So the lawyer's job, there's a few things that they're required to do. One, we go in and make the actual change. It is the lawyers directly who do the change. So we're a gatekeeper to make sure that there's no fraud, and that only once money has passed hands and the buyer is entitled to be registered, is there a change in ownership. So that's very important. Only lawyers can make these changes to who is an owner on a property. And it's also the lawyer's job to check the database, the government system, to do a search of title is what we call it, to see what other interests can impact or affect that land in question. So we don't want, a buyer who's thinking, I've got this wonderful property I'm getting to pay their money, go in, and the next day they find out there's a mortgage registered on title that now affects them, or that somebody else has an interest. Somebody has a right to use their backyard to walk across or for parking. So we're a gatekeeper, one, but we're also we're diligence takers. We look through title and make sure the buyer is getting what they bargained for. Now in the States, Tim, I think you've been in the States before, so most people don't know that, but the US has actually converted from a system similar to ours, 20 years ago, where the lawyers would do all this. Now they just have insurance companies who are able to certify who the new owner will be, and they just insure everything. And there's much more fraud that way, and there's a lot more risk. So we don't have that system here, but we do import some of that. So almost every single residential deal in Ontario that closes, the lawyers buy and purchase for their client an additional insurance policy that's title insurance. So that's additional coverage and comfort for the client in case there's anything that the lawyer can't find out about. So if there's something that would impact their ownership that didn't get registered with the government database, that the lawyer can then go and see. So the title insurance is there to protect you and to cover you. And that's standard on, basically every single deal. Maybe not necessary, but standard.
So that helps with purchasing detached homes where there might be an easement or a right-of-way that's not on the title, but maybe it's been assumed by previous owners over decades.
Could be, yeah. Well, and our system is kind of all over the place, to be honest with you. So our land title system, there's some requirement to register your interest with the government for them to be binding. So if you want to do a transfer of ownership, give somebody else ownership of the property, you want to be registering that. Most things need to be registered to be binding, but easements specifically do not. And we're thinking about changing that. But right now there's an exemption where easements, if you want to grant your neighbor an easement, you do not have to register it. And it will be binding upon future owners, even if they have no notice of it, because it's a handwritten document that's been kept in a basement. So there's very important elements to title insurance in Ontario to give coverage to clients, and easements are a great example, Tim.
Yes. And another one of those bumps in the road as we talk about. How have things changed for you during this last year with the COVID pandemic?
What pandemic? How have things changed? Wow. Yeah. I mean, life has sort of fundamentally altered itself. We're finding a lot more of our clients working from home. So just to back up a bit, for us as a firm, we had decided to stay open. We're considered an essential service. So we have stayed open in our physical location at Yonge and Eglinton at our office here. In case our clients ever need a physical presence to come to the office to sign anything by hand, we've stayed open from day one, every day through the pandemic. But we have also converted to a bit of a work from home rotation for some of our staff, to make things easier and safer for some of our staff take the TTC to work and whatnot. So from day we were a bit ahead of the curve, in sort of the end of February, we said, oh, this is happening. We better be ready to go on remote procedures. So from the beginning of the shutdown, we had half of our staff or so working from home. We were set up and ready to do remote signings for clients who were not able to come in, whether somebody's in the hospital or they're in lockdown, or they feel safer to do a signing. And really we have an ability now to do all of our signings remotely with technology, and electronic signatures on documents are legally binding. So given that we can procedurally do it and legally we can do all of our closing signings remotely, the safest thing throughout the pandemic has been, in our minds, to do most, if not all, of our client signings remotely. Like I said, we've stayed open in our physical location in case of emergencies clients need. We always have a few people in. But we have encouraged all of our clients to do their signings remotely. And we've got a good system in place, very similar to Zoom. We do have, we can do a Zoom signing if that's easier for clients. We have through our internet and phone providers, RingCentral has a very easy to download onto a phone or a computer to complete a virtual video conference for our closing meeting. So there is a requirement to do some face-to-face by video conference with the lawyers and the client on a closing. Mm-hmm. We've got a wide spectrum of clients. We do somewhere around 1,000 deals a year. So, we've got, younger clients who are very, very versed in like you, Jim, exactly, who are very, very versed. You're probably actually way more experienced than a lot of our first-time buyers and whatnot in technology. You're very, very good with this stuff. But, we have a lot of clients who are fantastic with technology. It's not an issue. They're well versed in it. And we have clients who don't have smartphones. Or who have been stuck in the hospital at times throughout this pandemic. And so we've seen it, we've dealt with it. There are ways to get around that, if it has to be an in-person signing, but we're generally able to help our clients in figuring out a way to do a remote signing, even if they don't have, a smartphone or a camera. There's ways we've been able to work with our clients and get that done and help on a case by case. And then in terms of signing the documents, for sales, everything is done by DocuSign now. So you don't need to client who's selling does not need to print out and sign anything. We just prepare everything through DocuSign, and you get an email and you just click sign. Yep. We'll have done a video conference signing with you where we verify the identity. There's various fraud, prevention mechanisms that we have to have in place for all of this. And
costs here.
Exactly. Well, we have all of our clients send us pictures of their IDs beforehand, and then we do verify it in our video conference signings. And there's other ways that we can help with the fraud prevention, because that is always a concern for lawyers. You know, we need to make sure we're speaking with the right people.
Now, have you had any issues with banks and wiring funds and things? I know that
yeah, we have.
That
Absolutely
difficult.
Yeah, the banks, and remember, the banks have, it's been a fundamental, really a sea change for everybody in their daily lives. Whether you've gone from working, at the office every day to working from home every day, or whatever the changes that COVID has brought to your life, it's been happening with the banks as well. They have had a huge amount of pressure and strain on them. They have a lot of their staff working from home. They have far more wiring and ETFs happening now. So it's put a strain on their systems. And we have seen problems with some of the banks getting funds a little bit later. Not always. And it's cleaned up, I think, the last few months. So there's only so much you can do. What we recommend and advise to our clients who are buying is make sure you have your closing funds that are needed over to the lawyer the day before closing. Don't do it the day of. If you're doing a wire, just get it done the day before. Better safe than sorry. If you want to do it 3 days before, great. But at least the day, 24 hours before closing, have the money over to the lawyer.
Don't give them the option, Dave. Don't give them the option.
You know what? I would love to tell all of our clients it has to be 3 days, but we, unfortunately, as lawyers, we have to be pretty flexible, and we work with what our clients need. And I find that a lot of times it ends up being a day or maybe 2 days before closing. But yeah, great. 3 days, strict rule. Get us the money early. In terms of banking, it's good advice for everybody who's buying a property. You need to, the lawyers will do 95% of the work once you've signed your agreement with your fantastic, wonderful realtor. Once that's done and sent to the lawyers, most of the job is on us, and we guide you. We take you through the process. We let you know what information we need from you. We do all the document preparation. The real things that we need you to do, if it's a house, you need to get insurance on the property. That's one of your big jobs. And the other big job you need to do is making sure you have your mortgage stuff dealt with early. So your application is in. If you're going in firm or you've waived a condition, hopefully you've gotten approval, but you need to get whatever documents to your mortgage broker or the branch rep. If you're going directly through a bank, you need to get that information to them, whatever they need, as early as possible, and you want to stay on them. The bank needs to have everything that they're going to require on your end at least a month before closing. Okay, so that's the biggest job, apart from organizing movers and planning your wonderful, how your furniture is going to look and where everything's going to go, and having all those fun talks with Tim about that stuff. You need to be working on that mortgage stuff, and the earlier the better. So that's advice that I've always given to clients pre-pandemic, but it really does, it applies even more now, because you should expect there to be some delays with the bank. And, that's, not, 9 times out of 10, if we have an issue or a speed bump on a deal, it's something to do with the bank. So dealing with things proactively and early, and, you can always loop your lawyer in, share if you're talking to a mortgage broker or you have a branch rep who's helping you with your mortgage, connect the lawyer with them so that, we're around and we can talk to them, help if there's any, any bumps with the bank.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you 100% on all of this stuff. And then
everything early.
Get it done. And, know that, when you've signed paperwork with me, right. I'm still.
The earlier everything gets done, the less.
Right. So, and what I let people know is like, I'm with you to the end and beyond if needed. And, we want to know where the bumps are, or who do you need a phone call from me to somebody to sort of say, hey, let's get this going. Because
and you want to make sure you've got, your professionals who are helping you when you're buying or selling a home, your realtor, your lawyer, your mortgage, representation. They should be able to have a good line of communication open. And like Tim and I will work, if we've got a whether it's a seller or buyer closing and a speed bump does arise, you're going to be talking to us for sure, but you better believe me and Tim will be on the phone with each other and talking about, okay, how do we make this easy for the client here? How do we, like Tim is an awesome resource for us as well, because we can bounce ideas off him. He can help with amendments if there's needed or extensions. So, it is so important to have a good realtor who's there throughout the process, if and when they're.
Right. And I mean, I remember one of the scariest speed bumps was the client was heading to your office to sign the documents, and they didn't have insurance. And they called me and said, I haven't got my insurance, help me. And I was like, okay. And then by the time they walked into your office, the insurance policy was on your desk. And it was just because I happened to know who to call in the insurance company. And it's like, that's what you want. You want someone who can sort of, when those bumps happen, you can
quickly
get involved. Yeah.
Quickly solve problems and
well, they call me
stress
Swift.
situations.
See? Right there. See? Swift. Just that.
Right.
So Dave, tell us about what you like about sort of the Yonge and Eglinton or Davisville Village area, because that's the main sort of crux of the park bench that we're working on.
Oh, we love it. This was, we moved up here about, I think, 6 years, almost 7 years ago now. And we've been targeting this area. It is like one of the best areas for businesses, but also as a vibrant place to live. I mean, there's wonderful projects all over the place. There's tons of people. There's great food, great coffee places, great bars. It's sort of a downtown in Midtown. It is, and it's going to get, even wilder, because, we've got the LRT, this hub coming in here, which hopefully will be done relatively soon, because it's just going to be like, we think it's vibrant now, Tim, but it's going to be the place to be. I mean, there's a few, there's some wonderful places in Toronto, but, I firmly believe that this is going to be, one of the places where everybody wants to live. And the great thing is you can work here, but it's also just a great place to live.
Yeah.
So we have a few of our lawyers and staff who live around, and they love it as well. So it's been great for us. It's central to everything, easy to get to. So I couldn't say enough great things about Midtown Yonge and Egg.
Yeah, I love it too. I run into you guys on the street every once in a while. It's like, oh, it's like, oh, that's right.
You see so many people out and about all the time. It is a real community to it.
So tell people how they can find out more about you and your services.
Yeah. So we've got a social media, we've got an Instagram and a Facebook and a LinkedIn and some of that fun stuff. I'm not, a little bit, after my time. So I'm not the most fluent with that stuff, but I try. But we do have that as a firm. Our website is gclaw.ca. You can find more information. But I always encourage people, if you've got questions or you want to, just say hi and introduce yourselves, call or email. My email, I'm not sure if it's in the Zoom in some way, but it's davidcarter@gclaw.ca. And the phone number is 416-900-3865. And call and email. It's we're always happy to chat with people and meet clients.
And I stop in when I'm in the neighborhood, and we can actually get into the offices.
Exactly.
It's been a while.
When you call, Tim might be there anyway.
Sometimes. Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time. Again, it's David Carter from Grechi-Carter. Or Carter, it's Grechi-Carter, yes.
Grechi-Carter, yeah.
I was like, oh no, I didn't get that right, did I?
Hours of debate about which name first.
Yeah, well, sure. Great. I mean, I like your team. I like your energy. Your staff has always been very supportive for the clients. So it's like, why would people are like, well, why don't you go other places? It's like, why would I? It's like,
appreciate the kind words, Tim. We love working with you too.
Me too. So we'll talk with you soon. Thanks you again for taking the time.
Thanks, Tim. Bye, everybody.